All right, welcome. Thank you all for coming. I haven't like said hi to, I'm like MC. So if you haven't met me, I'm Liz, and I am the, I don't know, proprietor of the proud owner of Something Blues Photography, and thank you so much for coming. It's really cool to see some of these new faces in this little audience, and I hope you like our talk show style setup. It doesn't it kind of feel like a view? So we're going to use the microphone just so, and also I should warn you, we're going to record this because a number of women reached out today and said, oh, we can't make it and we're so bummed, and so I thought this way people can get caught up, and maybe too for you guys if you want to watch it again later. So I'm really excited to have this amazing group of women that are going to share, and I hope all of us, including the people up here, like I hope all of us really walk away with some new tidbits. Robin and I were just saying that social media is the kind of thing like that is just constantly evolving and changing, and we could probably do this like every, quarter or something, like, and still have a lot to talk about and a lot to share. So we figured this would be kind of the best format to do this, so it really could be like a conversation and an opportunity to share. Oh, I'm glad to see you grabbing pens. I'm gonna pass. I am trying really hard to get rid of these bags. So,
why thank you?
You can have a stack of them, and then I could probably give all of you that many, and I still have bags left over. In the bag, there's a little sheet for you to take notes on, and a Something Blue pen that I'm really happy to get rid of. So
they're nice. They write nicely.
They write nicely. I mean, we get the good pens. We're interested in the good pens. So I'll just kind of do a little introduction to myself, but I really just want to facilitate this conversation, but I may hop in here and there. Like I said, I'm a photographer, and we do a lot of weddings, but we do newborns, families, corporate stuff, and I'm kind of pointing and gesturing because I'm like connected with some of you because of that. Lindsay sitting back here, if you haven't met her, she's our amazing newborn and family lady, and Conrad back there, our bartender, is our amazing everything guy. That's your new name? Sure. And some of you might know, I feel like I need to explain like my walker that has a beer in it. Because that's baller, like how many old ladies have like a... So I, in the last like 6 months, experienced a major health crisis and was hospitalized for 6 weeks and paralyzed for 3 of those weeks, but now I'm walking around and drinking beer on my walker, so it's all good. But if you're here and you, like, this is kind of new to me and weird to me, but if you are here and you haven't donated and you feel like this was a night that was worthwhile, like all of these women are volunteering, which is amazing, and we're volunteering our time and giving you free wine, and if you would like to contribute, on the back table there's a little place for donations for the National Wine Society, which I'm like, why am I starting to like, I'm gonna just stop talking. And maybe because I'm getting like that, I'm gonna just pass the mic down and let these beautiful women introduce themselves. So thank you for coming. All right. Thank you.
Well, hi. Do I need this? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't like holding the mic.
I know, it's weird. Do you mind doing it? Because I feel like it'll be better for the video.
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Are we good? Okay. Hi. Hi, I'm Jessica Littman, and I run a professional organizing firm called The Organized Mama. I have been writing a blog and doing social media and organizing people's houses for the past 6 years. And I don't know, what else do I need to say? Anything else?
That's good.
That's good? Okay.
Hi, my name is Melissa Parks, and I am a vintage antique enthusiast, and I sell vintage minimally on the side. I call it a jobby, but I have used Instagram in specific to build a thought leadership platform on vintage. So I work for Flea Market Style Magazine doing writing and also styling for photo shoots.
I'm Julie Kittredge. I am a ceramic artist and a small business coach to creatives. So I work with people, a lot of creatives do really great work, but they struggle with the business mindedness of running a business. So I love working with small business owners who have a real heart message but don't know how to communicate it well or run the business well.
Hi, I'm Trisha Clark. I'm a makeup artist and I do mostly wedding makeup, but then I also teach classes and private lessons to women just like you and who think of makeup as a tool and they want to be able to use it better in their everyday lives. So I spend a lot of time on Instagram doing live makeup tutorials with my 6-year-old son, dancing in the background, showing off his dinosaurs, which goes really well with eyeliner. Yeah, and I know Liz through wedding stuff, so glad to be here with all these ladies.
That wedding life. So I'm gonna grab that. And also put that in just- Okay. So we had talked about kind of the best format for tonight, and I think we kind of put together a few basic, like, get us started questions that I'll start with, and then hopefully that'll stir up for all of you. I'm sure you all have a ton of questions already, so sorry that I'm going to ask the questions first, but I'm just gonna ask some questions. So I guess maybe the first thing, since you didn't talk about it a lot, just in introducing yourselves, is, you know, what is your social media platform of choice? You know, what works best for you? Where do you kind of invest the most of your time, and why? Do you want to just pass that?
Sure,
over?
we'll just pass it
Okay.
down. Okay, so I get the most traffic to my blog from Pinterest. I have the most fun on Instagram, and I get the most clients from Facebook. And Twitter
I like
is
that.
pointless.
So I started Instagram with the intention of working for a magazine. That was really what I wanted to do. I was a writer and I thought, how in the world do I get my foot in the door of a magazine and prove that I can write? And so I thought, let me get my home published in a magazine and get connections with other editors. And so I began to use Instagram as like a mini portfolio of my creative work, specifically my home and also of my collections and just my styling work, I suppose. And so that's how it happened. And there are people out there are scouts out there, editors who do cruise through Instagram looking for new talent. That's how we find a lot of our talent for the magazine I work for. And and through a variety of circumstances, I was published in Country Living magazine, made connections with the editor at Flea Market Style magazine, and now am a field editor. So I look at Instagram as really a mini portfolio. I never had time to set up a blog. I'm still like trying to set up my web page, which is really terrible. But so I use it as kind of a mini portfolio of my work. And since Instagram is really visually based, that is why I use it.
I use Instagram primarily as a visual artist. When you go on my social media, it's all going to be ceramics and art and that sort of thing. I don't really use it to promote the business side, but I use my own creative business as my own personal case study for what I teach. So I won't teach somebody anything that I haven't practiced myself. And so I use Instagram because it's visual and I'm an artist. I also use the like auto share to Facebook. So really in conjunction, I use Instagram and Facebook, but I don't pay a whole lot of attention to Facebook because it's not business friendly.
I agree. I spend most of my time on Instagram because that's where brides are nowadays. And if you are using Instagram, you can tag whatever location you're at. And so for me, if I post a picture of a beautiful bride and tag that she was at this mansion, then when girls are getting married at that mansion, they'll look through things that are tagged there and go, oh, I like that work, and they follow the little, rabbit trail, and hopefully end up at my page. I don't use Pinterest that much, even though I've listened to the podcasts that say how you can like triple your traffic, because the good pictures that I'm getting back from brides are from photographers, and I can't just put their image out on a site where it's going to get pinned and might not be credited and stuff like that. And I'm not taking the time to professionally photograph all my brides. I'm grabbing a picture on my phone, and that's fine for Instagram. But yeah, and then I do what Julie does, where my business Instagram is linked to my business Facebook, so it gets updated, but I don't hang out. I don't have a group that I'm managing there, so that's my answer.
Do you want to pass it on? Is this one on? Or no?
Yeah, should I just like have mine on?
You're the host. You're the Oprah
Yeah,
of today.
I'm gonna like beatbox in the corner.
Yeah,
Just keep it moving. So okay, the next question I had was, what kind of a vision do you have for, I heard, a lot of talk about Instagram, and you hear things about the grid, and, people talk about planning, and can you girls maybe address how you plan and how you kind of pre-visualize what you want that vision of that social media platform to look like? Or is it sort of just as things come and, I'm just curious about that, what that process looks like for you.
So my Instagram is like really planned out. So I have like text, picture, and I did that on purpose because I'm using my Instagram for 3 purposes. It's to showcase my work, it's to teach my people how to organize, and also to get new clients. And so when I do the text, it's like legit mini blog post, and like I repurpose my like blog post into my text, what I'm saying. So those, honestly, the text pictures are the ones that do best for me. So when I work with any brands or anything, I always give them that as well, because those, I get the most engagement, I get the most reach. People spend more time reading those, where the picture you might look, you might get a like, but then when there is more text, more stuff to read, they really enjoy that. Oh,
Yeah.
should I show it?
Yeah,
Okay.
what's your handle?
It's Organized Mamas, MAMAS.
Here, I can pull it up here.
No, it's okay.
We should tell all of our handles.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, we should.
So how do you measure the success then? It's the likes, it's the comments, it's.
If you have your Instagram set as a business, you can check your,
Thank you. You might be able to answer this better, because I have really great intentions, but I am not an organized mama, probably in the case that you are. But I do know that every once in a while I flip to the right thing and I'm like, oh yes, look, this is how many people saw that post, and it's more than likes, and you can look and see what time people are most engaged with. So I know that most of my viewers will see my post from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. So I still post during the day, but more people that look at my page are on at night. But I think those are only if you are using Instagram as a business page.
There's an app called the Analytics app too. So if you don't have a business, you can get all that same stuff. So you can get, like, you can see who like unfollows you, follows you. You can see like who like all that stuff she's talking about basically. It's called the
And I-
Analytics app. It's
I just wanted to
amazing.
say
It's
about
free.
switching to an Instagram business, that's something like we've held off doing for a long time because I have this fear that our reach will be different, like once it's an official business. I don't know, I don't entirely trust the platform, and I feel like what I experienced on Facebook, because they're owned by the same entity now, so I've held off on switching officially to like a business account.
I did too.
For that reason.
Same reason.
Yeah, like I just want to keep that like organic reach that we've built up, and I fear that when we switch, that will kind of drop off, that people will stop seeing us in their feeds the same way as they do now, so.
What's the
That's just a
difference
thought.
between business?
A business Instagram account allows you analytics inside of Instagram, and it allows you like an address and a map and like some other, well, you have to have enough followers in order to swipe up,
Yeah.
but it just gives you some additional features that a personal profile
And when
doesn't.
you're on stories on business, you can see who saw your story, if they watched the whole thing, if they swiped, or they.
That's what's all.
Personal
It's
use.
personal
Personal too, okay.
Yeah, if you're looking at your,
Yeah.
I don't know what.
if you're looking at your story and you just swipe up, it'll show you where they're from, what time they looked at it, like even if it's not a business Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
You know, you can boost if you're an Instagram business one. So
Yeah,
like it's like you pay for it to be.
It's like a sponsored Facebook.
Yeah.
Sponsor, yeah. I don't put money into my social media.
Okay.
But I wanted to share the planning question. So I'm not quite as organized as planning it. Well, it probably won't show how I plan, but the way I plan, I do it very much more organically. But if I do plan anything, it's really to create a journey for my audience. So showing them from the beginning of a project to the end, or people. I find the biggest response that I get are the posts that show the final product or like the end of the journey. People have been along the journey the whole time and they get all excited, or if it's a sad journey, I bring them along whether it's positive or negative. And they love that. They really respond. The engagement is really wonderful because it's personal and they're engaged, invested, emotionally invested in the process. So for me, any planning happens from the journey, taking them on a journey.
So it's separate posts along that journey.
Yeah.
I don't plan at all. I put the Insta in Instagram.
Like what it was supposed to be initially.
So I like to share what I'm personally being inspired by because that's what I think has the most heart for me. And I feel like people connect with the heart. And that's how I measure when something is going well is, are people connecting with what I'm saying? Are they connecting on an emotional level to the image, what I'm sharing? So I don't get rigid about what I'm going to share. I know that I create a consistent color palette, and my style is I try to create something that is different than what everybody else is doing out there, and I do that through the color green, some pops of pink, lots of brass and gold, and some white. So those are like recurring themes, and I find that when you use those recurring themes in your Instagram accounts, especially Instagram because it's a visual platform, you begin to create continuity. So I guess that's my advice. If you're not going to plan out posts like me, begin to think about how all your posts are going to hang together visually.
And how do you do that? Are you doing it like by photography or like the platform you're using to take some photos and just like a filter on them?
Yeah, sometimes I use my phone, sometimes I use my camera, it just depends. I enjoy Instagram because it's really pushing me creatively. Like I've learned how to kind of use a camera. I'm not great, but I've heard a lot of people say that on Instagram, because it is a visual medium, it's worth investing in learning how to take really good shots, whether it's with your iPhone or with a real camera. But if you have a lousy dark picture that's not staged well, you're just going to be passed by. People don't give you any attention. It's hard enough to get attention if your picture is beautiful, but when it's ugly, it's really, really hard to get any attention on Instagram because there's just so much competition. And if you're just starting out on Instagram, it's really hard to get any kind of lift. So pay attention to the visual content. It's a visual space, so pay attention to your posts. And you don't have to be a great photographer. I'm not a great photographer, but I take probably, on any given post, that middle one with the flowers, I probably took about 30 different shots. I'm like, I guess this one is the best, and it may not even be the best, but I took a lot of shots to get one that I was happy with, and the one next to it probably another 30 or 40. So, it just, so I'm kind of Insta, but kind of not, because I'm taking a lot of shots to get one that I think is going to look good visually on my feed.
And I think visual beauty is true for all across any platform that you're using. I think that's true not just on Instagram. It's very important.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to add, being photographers, you'd think we'd be good at this, but we use social media a lot to give something back to our clients. We use our social media almost entirely for what we call like sneak peeks. So you'll see a lot of our posts are like, look at this from this wedding yesterday, or look at this from this baby we saw. And sometimes those weddings are really ugly. And sometimes those like kids or families are not the cutest. And that sounds so vicious, but that's like the world that I'm in, and we're talking so much about the visual, and I think even as photographers, even as people who have the skills to like cultivate a portfolio on Instagram, we struggle with it because we'll say like, well, we have this photo from this wedding, we really want to share it, but it doesn't fit with our grid. And I guess I just wanted to like encourage you guys to consider archiving things, because you don't have to, just because something feels like it resonates with you then, you don't have to always keep it there, because Instagram is this sort of static portfolio, and you can put something up and you can leave it for a day or two, and you can then click the archive button, which you probably can't see that on the laptop, but if you have your phones and you go to the Instagram app, because I need to look at the button to see. I'm like, we have some stuff, where's Conrad? We have some stuff we need to archive.
It's the 3 dots on the right corner of your photo. So it's in the upper
So if you
right
click on the photo,
that you want to archive.
like, yeah, to the left of your handle, There are those 3 dots, and you can click on that, and you can archive things, and then they're saved. Like you can, I believe, unarchive it if you
Yes.
later have, remorse about hiding away that post. But if you have something that stands out and is really standing out to you, and you're like, this shouldn't be there. Like I posted. Someone mentioned about, telling your story and connecting with things even when they're sad. I put this really wordy, long post up about kind of what I had gone through, and it's a picture of me and Conrad, and we're both like terrified of what we look like in pictures. We need to archive that. But, like part of me I've left it because, there's a connection there. But if you're concerned about the grid and the look of that, it's okay to archive things. It's okay to have,
You can delete.
or just delete. But the archive seems a little less permanent to me.
I just delete everything.
But I do feel guilty when I archive couples, but sometimes like that wedding just really doesn't hold with like what our style is and what we're looking for from new clients. I mean, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
I'm a big fan of archiving.
Do you have any pointers for us, like non-photographers, on how to shoot a good picture with your phone?
Practice.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because you're a photographer, so you.
I can say
that's
something.
cheating.
So I do smartphone photography workshops, but just with the smartphone, the one thing that I teach that is like in any of my smartphone photography classes, I say this is the one thing you took away, and you'll resonate with this, is the rule of thirds. If you have a well-composed shot, it will make the difference between something that's attractive, visually pleasing, and something that's not. So the rule of thirds basically is where you choose your subject. What are you taking?
Helps with that too.
Yeah, what are you taking a picture of? I'm gonna use this picture as an example. So what are you taking a picture of? What's your subject? So let's say the plant is kind of the subject. Picture like a pretend tic-tac-toe grid. And your subject is gonna land on the intersecting point of that tic-tac, any one of the 4 intersecting points. So that could be something that's close up, it could be something that's far away, but choose the one thing that you wanna be your subject and land it on one of those 4 intersecting points. And then just keep practicing, but with that one instruction in mind. And you'll see that your pictures are better.
And the reason for that is because visually what we see is the centered, smiling pictures of people. Most of the images you see are like pictures of friends, selfies, stuff where post things that are like, that's most of what our visual language is. And so when you see something removed from that, it activates that space in a way that your brain responds to. There's, science behind the rule of thirds, and artists of all, ceramicists and sculptors and painters, and the rule of thirds has been around since the ancient Greeks. But the concept of it, like, just if you're going to take a picture of something at the very last minute, just shift to one side or the other. Right. Just kind of throw it off a little, because that activates that rectangle or that square.
You can also put the grid on your phone when you take a picture. That's the only way I can do it for real.
Or on a camera. Those grids are built into the viewfinder on your camera.
So just set it on your camera on your phone when you take the picture, and then you can you'll see the 4 points.
And light is everything. Like, don't try and do your Instagram photos at night after your kids are in bed. Like, that's the wrong move. Like, do it in the morning at breakfast time by the window.
Take a ton while they're napping and
do it while they're
those for future posts. You don't have to blow them all right away, but don't take them at night.
But use a window, like use diffuse light. Part of why we have these like curtains on these windows is because it just softens the light and it makes it prettier. Like use a curtain like this, or throw a white t-shirt over a bright lamp to get some extra light in the room if it's a really dark, crummy day and you need to do something. Think about light and like how the light's changing that image. Hold up. Beatbox. Okay, I was wondering about organic followers, like organic reach, and maybe just talking, we kind of touched on it a little, but if you could maybe talk with us a little about how you've built up your following organically.
That's a big question.
That's a big question.
Oh, sure. You talk about first. So for me, I have done I've really used my Instagram to connect with other people in my industry. And then from there, we've all kind of created, like we did an Instagram summit. So there were 6 of us that all did Instagram lives, and we all kind of shared that we were all doing it over the course of this week. That really got me a lot of followers who stuck around because all 6 of us were in the same, field. We talked all about different topics. So I've hosted like 6 of those Instagram summits just online, and it has helped so much with my like organic traffic because I found other people. It's on topics that people I want to reach are at, and
I've never done a paid post. I don't believe in paying for followers because they're not engaged followers and they're not people that will buy anything from you, want anything from you, do anything with you. I mean, they're just not interested in you. So I've grown totally organically, and I think you alluded to it. It's really about finding your tribe of people. And I spent the first year of being on Instagram connecting with people who I thought were like me, and I spent hours commenting on other people's posts with the hope that maybe they would come and look at my page and be interested, but often that didn't happen. But you have to start somewhere with like this giving attitude, and you just give and you give and you give, and eventually you get something back. But and I still try to be really engaged in community. It gets harder the more people you start to follow and all that, but the point is it's social media is social. It's about community, it's about giving, and it's not just about gaining. And so when you start to give, people are going to come back to you and follow you. If there's something that you're passionate about, then share that passion through like a hashtag. There are people that, like, I guess that's kind of what your summit was.
Yeah.
But like at the holidays, I have a friend, and we host Festive Friday Vintage, something like that. I can't even remember it. But people get really excited because they're so excited about the holidays, and they want to share their grandma's ornament and their bottle brush tree. And so they tag us, and sometimes you say you have to follow us if you want to be considered as a winner. I don't like that. I think that's dumb. But you start to get followers when you host hashtags. But it has to be something that's authentic to you, that you're passionate about, and that you'll actually engage people in. So that's one thing. I don't like giveaways for the sake of getting followers because those are so ephemeral, and the space is so cluttered with them now that it's really hard to get any sort of traction. So I would really just encourage you to give, and you'll begin to get in return. Just be authentic and, build a community or tribe.
Could you just speak about hosting a hashtag?
Yeah.
Could you just
Yeah.
be more specific about like how does that happen?
Okay,
Thank you.
so
Sorry, was everybody thinking the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
yes. Okay, so one of the phrases that I started to use a lot in my posts is called "the quest is the best," and because I love to be on the quest for vintage items, and I get really excited, and I would share things, and I'd say hashtag TQITV or "the quest is the best," and so. Last year, I had this idea of going through the alphabet for 26 weeks, which was really stupid because I petered out at the end. Yeah. And so I'm going on a quest and I'm bringing an alabaster lamp. Somebody would say, I'm bringing an abalone shell bottle opener, whatever. So people would post on their page something that they found out antiquing or at a garage sale or in a dumpster and post it, and they would tag it, hashtag TQITB. And you can follow hashtags just like you can follow people. And so people would be like, oh, it's this TQITB, who's this? And they would say Melissa's posting it, and I would go and comment on everybody's posts and everybody's grandma's quilts and milk glass, and and suddenly, you build this community around you, and you become a leader in that space, and that hashtag still exists, and people now use it for when they're out questing, I like to say it, or finding stuff, and they hashtag it.
And hosting just means that you came up with the hashtag.
I came up with that.
You said, I'm doing this, here's the hashtag for it.
Yes,
Tag me with
anybody
this
can do
hashtag.
it. Anybody can do it. But there are so many hashtags now, you gotta find one that's not used. But also that's kind of memorable. and that's not cheesy, you know, it's just, there's so many like hashtag white farmhouse finds, or, you
It
just,
doesn't link to something you don't want people to see.
right.
So
You
there
just-
literally can't be any other tags with that hashtag, it has to be like at 0?
No,
Okay.
you just wanna make sure that it's not overly populated, because as soon as you
Gotcha,
have
yeah.
a
That makes
hashtag
sense.
that has so many
Yeah,
posts,
okay.
just everything will get lost.
Can I just say something about hashtags? There is an app that we use every day called Focal Mark.
What is it?
It's all one word, Focal Mark, FOCALMARK. And it's great for us as photographers, but it also is great for interior designers, for realtors. It's an app that generates hashtags based on like what's popular. You know, you can select 2 categories of a photo and you can click generate, you can select your location, and that app will generate hashtags for you. Because when we were first starting, it was like, oh my gosh, how much time is this one Instagram post going to take? And it's ridiculous. So I have that Focal Mark app on my phone. I use it every time I post to Instagram, and you can press the shuffle button and it'll mix up the hashtags for you. But what I do is I put all those hashtags into my Notes app so that I can use them again and again. You know, I just have it all in my phone, kind of saved to one place, and if I know I'm doing this kind of a post. But you have to be careful, because if you use the same hashtags, you will get shadow banned, which is like basically Instagram will think that you're up to fishiness and they'll shut your audience down. Yeah, and so you don't want to like overdo it, you know, because the algorithm is such that like they can sense generated hashtags. They know, like Instagram is kind of wanting it to be a really organic, relational thing. And so I think you just have to be careful. So when I generate my hashtags, I always go through and delete, you know, hashtag the knot, hashtag green wedding shoes, because I'm really not appealing to the knot readers or green wedding shoes, you know, blog followers. Like those aren't my people. Like those aren't my future brides. So thinking about hashtags and kind of using what's, you know, important to you or meaningful to you, and the idea of like generating some hype on your own is really cool, you know, like sponsoring a hashtag or coming up with an idea for like, and that's what brides and grooms do now. Like everyone, it's like the Brangelina thing, you know, which I sound so old saying that, but like, you know, the idea of having a wedding couple name hashtag or whatever is connected to that. I mean, the idea of hashtags is just so that people can easily search for things. Like that's why they exist. So when you use hashtags, you are popping up in searches then, you know, and you know you can like search for certain hashtags. But again, just be careful with it and don't use it, I think, like disingenuously. If that makes sense.
You can use hashtags for location, you know, hashtag Arlington Heights, hashtag Arlington Heights weddings, or, you know, like you can incorporate hashtags that are specific to the kind of audience that you want to attract. So be really purposeful and intentional about which hashtags you use or make up, or.
I have a really silly question. I see hashtags on Facebook, I see hashtags on Instagram, Twitter. Is there a difference?
No.
No.
I think so. Okay, and I think the
So
hashtags that you see on Facebook are probably auto posts from
They're auto posts, because
Instagram.
Facebook,
Oh, no,
like
I put them
hashtags
on there
on
and I don't know where.
The Facebook hashtags aren't really effective.
On Facebook doesn't like hashtags.
Right.
Like they don't, so don't, if you like post directly from Instagram to Facebook, either like go in immediately and delete the hashtags, or just put the hashtags in the comments.
I didn't know that.
They just, they don't like each other.
yeah, they don't. And if you're posting to Instagram, I've found that posting hashtags in the comments is a better spot for those hashtags, but that's something that kind of changes and comes and goes, and there are trends where it's like, you know, write out your post and at the end of the post put your hashtags. So I mean, I think that might be something that
I think it's more of a
evolves.
beauty thing, it's less
Yeah.
of an effect, you know, it's effective either way, but as far as cleaning up your post, if you wanna put the hashtags in the comment, the first comment, it just cleans up the post.
I do think in terms of engagement, you need to know what time is best for you. And another app that we use is an app that's just called When to Post. And it searches through, it connects to your Instagram and your followers, and it tells you when your followers, you know, most of those people are online. And so I use When to Post every day. I use Focal Mark every day because I'm like, okay, it's Wednesday, and our Wednesday posting time is different than our Thursday posting time, and it's fascinating, you know, and it's connected to who our audience is, but have your hashtags ready before you post, because at least I've found if I post and then come back to the hashtags like 10 minutes later, that post gets a lot less engagement than if I just do it all right away. Like, it kind of has to be like, post your image. If you're doing the hashtags in the comments, do that within the like first minute of your post, or else it's gonna get lost in the abyss of like, you know, Instagram hell.
So I want to say something about all of the, because I feel like you guys might start like looking like deer in headlights, like hashtag this, timing that, blah, 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 blah. You know, it just feels like a lot. And if you are just getting started, don't worry about any of that. Just start posting. I would just say, just get into the practice of posting and worry about hashtags and timing and apps and that kind of stuff later, once you feel like you have your groove and you have some practice and you know what you want to share and what your message is that you want to tell people. Just get into the practice of using it first.
And you don't need to do it every day. It doesn't need to be this overwhelming, like, I have to do all this social media, it has to be every day. It should, like, you know, quality, what's the phrase? Quality over quantity, for sure, yeah.
And I repurpose a lot of my content, so if I write a blog post, I'll have like 5 Instagram posts that kind of go with it. So I kind of break down the topics that I talk about with each different picture or text that I put along with it. So all of that was one blog post. I spread it out over 6 different pictures over the course of the month, or 2, depending on how long the blog post is. In regards to like Pinterest, I'll use some of my pictures I use on Instagram, and I'll create a graphic for that. And I'll either link it to my Instagram or I'll link it to my blog. And then it's one like topic. I'm like organizing a linen closet, and I broke down all of those, all the tips in my blog post throughout Instagram. So I'm not recreating the wheel. I've already done this, and I'm just like repurposing it in a bunch of different ways so that it's not as overwhelming. You have it all kind of, you know, set up, and you've already taken those pictures and you wrote content on it, or you know X, Y, and Z about the one thing, so you can really reuse your stuff. You're not recreating the wheel. It's a lot less stress than, you know.
And I feel like it's important to keep it fun. It's, you know, you don't want it to start to become work, because otherwise you're not going to be engaging, you're not going to be sharing your heart, you're not, you know, if it's not fun and it's not a reflection of who you are as an individual or as a business owner, then that's going to show when, you know, your posts are going to feel dry, and people, you know, will feel that. So I feel like if you just keep it fun, keep it light, keep it a reflection of who you are, the kinds of people that you want to draw, you know, the heart of your business, really. Keep the heart of your business in mind, and keep it simple to start at least.
Do any of you use like a program like Hootsuite or something that posts to lots of social media at one time?
I used to. I don't.
Is there a reason? I mean,
I got tired of looking at it. I don't know. I just decided that I wanted to hone in on Instagram. Just really specialize on one.
Facebook doesn't like outside schedulers, so they hate Hootsuite and they will dock you. They also don't like YouTube, so don't post like from YouTube. Like a lot of these don't like each other, right?
So what does that mean though? They're gonna take our post
The
down?
algorithm.
They're just gonna make it less visible.
Oh, so just won't even see.
Yeah.
People won't see it, yeah.
So,
They want like the authentic direct posts
Yes.
on their platform.
or scheduling it through them. Like
Yeah.
Facebook, you can schedule through them. Instagram now, it says schedule. I've never done it. I set I use a planning app, but I never post through that app. I use it as a timer, and it like pops up, and so then I'm like, okay, so now I take the post and I take the content and I post directly into it. But because I get so busy during the day, I forget, like, oh, my audience is on right now, so I'm gonna, post now. I'm gonna take 10 minutes to comment and like other people, be engaged, and I kind of use my timer on my phone as my reminder, because otherwise, you know, you either start scrolling and you're not using it to like be social, you're just zoning out, or I just forget altogether and then the day's gone and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to like respond to my people and now I feel bad that I haven't, you know, answered people's questions or got back to them.
What's the planning app you use?
I use Later, later.com. I really like a lot of their Instagram information, so like they have an email with that you get once a week, and I really like the information they have. It's like easy tips, and I found it
I've
interesting.
used it too.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Or don't use it enough.
Yes, or
Or don't use an app,
Yeah.
just
Yes.
Keep it organic.
I have a quick question that I kind of know this answer from Julie and Trisha about how much you're talking about like putting your heart into it, but for a photographer, how much of it like should be actual personal content versus like business? Like people are looking and I used to put photos of my family or personal stuff, but then I was kind of told that that wasn't appropriate. So I mean, I see like in your lives, you talk about your kids and we see stuff and that you are talking about what's going on, but I don't know if
It's not like uber personal.
like here's my daughter, like which I see maybe that's from Facebook. I'm trying to like differentiate, but like yeah, how much
I think it's
of
important to
it?
be personable and human. So what I teach in my classes is to have a balance. So if you're gonna share, and there's a balance with sales too. Like you don't wanna have a sale every time you, or offer something for sale, or this is what I do, or this is what I offer, or these are my services, you know, every time you post. It's really like every 5 posts should be a sale post. The rest should be informational, inspirational, or helpful, which is where you're being generous, for what Melissa was saying earlier. You're being really generous with information, you're giving away information, you're giving away. Like hold your business open hand. You don't wanna hold it real close and tight. Nobody's gonna steal your business, nobody's gonna steal your ideas, because you know how hard you work. And you know how long it's taken you to get to where you are. So don't be afraid of somebody taking your ideas. But be super generous with the information, because that's how you're gonna draw your tribe. That's how you're gonna draw the people that want what you offer when you're giving information away for free. So basically, if you need like a guide, every 5th post could be a sale post. But as far as the balance with personal versus business, I do think that you can put, depending on what your business is, but for a photographer, you can put one little personal post in there once in a while of your kid, or just something that really meant a lot to you, that reminds you of why you do what you do, or you know, you can tie it back into your business, but it makes you human, it makes you relatable, it makes you somebody that people can relate to. Just
And I would add that you should really be using, I use stories quite a bit to kind of get the behind the scene, like messy, I'm in my pajamas and I'm a mom sitting at a soccer field and the dishes are not done in my sink side, you know, stuff that I would never put on my feed because I want it to look pretty. And I like to share parts of my life that are funny, maybe embarrassing. So use stories, it's there for a reason, because people are really intrigued by it. And I have a lot of engagement on my stories, people really connect with that. And I share I probably do what Julie does. I would say err on the side of being real rather than just all business. People connect with humans, they don't connect with the product, they don't connect with the service. So put the I in your posts because that's what people will connect with.
Yeah, I totally agree with using the stories to share the personal aspect, and think about who you're talking to and who your target client is. So I'm trying to reach brides to be, but also young moms and business owners and fellow makeup artists. So it's a weird cross section. So I want my feed to be pretty brides, makeup you can do on yourself, some outfit posts, but then in my stories I can show I didn't wake up like this. It's a process, and that lets women who want to take a makeup class know that I can teach them how to do what I do. And it lets brides see like, oh, that's what someone looked like at a trial. Maybe they saw that in the stories, but then they can see, what they'll look like after their makeup is done. So just think about who you're talking to and if you're sharing something personal what value would they get from that, you know? And then I feel like I'm not gonna share anything about my kid that I wouldn't want him to read in 10 years, that would embarrass him, or I wouldn't share anything that, you know, if my husband was on Instagram, he'd be like, what, you said what? But I might make a joke in my stories.
Can you click your story? Yeah, so what's the difference?
Oh my gosh, I did a makeup, okay, so if you
She
click,
has a lot of stories.
I use stories a lot because people
Yeah.
like them, so
Yeah.
that was just, and I like tag brands and stuff, I took a makeup class today. I do what Melissa did, and I now have makeup artist friends all over the country because I would like their posts, and now, you know, if I recommend a product, they'll recommend it to their followers, and I'll get new followers out of that, so, and you can add text into your stories. A lot of times people click through and don't listen, so what I need to start doing is, if there's one of me talking, but I know someone's watching it while they're nursing a baby, like add a text for what you're saying. But yeah, and then you can add videos into stories too.
So stories is like the process and the feed is like the end result.
That's a
Stories
good way
is
to
like-
look at it.
Stories is like Snapchat, but I mean,
I think
It's very informal.
stories is only there for, it's
Yeah.
only, it's informal, it's behind the scenes, like if you're showing a behind the scenes thing, stories is awesome for that. It's only there for 24 hours and it will save for you. And you can later go back and find it again, but people can only see it for 24 hours. Stories is really a great place to use location tags too, because I'm always amazed at like the feedback, because it'll show you on stories, seen by 500, seen by 1,200, you know, it'll show you how many people have seen your story. And I'm always amazed at the stories that have the temperature one, the temperature like thing, always seems really like popular weirdly with people. I'm like, you know how warm it is outside, like why does this like, but I don't know if there's some algorithm thing, like you're saying I'm at this place and it's 72 degrees, like more people are going to see it, which is stupid. But maybe, you know, use that like within reason, but not like telling you all to put the temperature on your stories on every story post. But like your location, putting those little stupid GIFs in there that are very like,
I hate those.
this is,
See, I love
where's the
those.
youngest?
I hate them.
I mean, sometimes they're really fun, and sometimes I'm like, what am I even looking at? But those GIFs will drive that engagement up with people, but locations are really important.
For the stories, I watch everybody's stories, so if you make a story, the chances are I've probably seen it. But I will say, when you start to, for me, as someone who's watching your story, once you guys start to get past 5 or 6, I check out.
Yeah.
So, is there, like, if you're too, like, I see some people that are 12, and I don't even.
Do you know you can
I'll
tap
look
through them though? Like you don't just sit and hold for 2 seconds?
So my question for you guys is there a sweet spot number, like a good for people that are learning this and starting this? Should it be 4, should it be 5, should it be 3?
It's called Instagram stories because you're really supposed to be telling a story, I think. So if I'm gonna do more than 3 or 5, I try to take people on a journey of the complete story. So if I'm like going to the shop in King County Flea Market, you know, I kind of do an introduction and then I take them along with me. But there is like a natural attrition rate, people drop out. But even like if I'm doing, I really try to think in terms of like, what's gonna engage it? Is there a beginning and a middle and an end, you know? Because people don't wanna be dragged on forever and ever. And like there's only so much, and there's a point where you can be real and talk about the dirty dishes in your sink, but you're right, you tune out people up when they talk about it for 30 to 60 seconds. People don't really care that much. So I think put yourself in the shoes of your viewer and think of, are you adding value to them? And are you doing something that you would wanna watch? So
We work with a wedding videographer who is really good at using stories, and I think because of the nature of videography, he has more downtime during the day than like a actual, than the photographer who's kind of running the day. The videographer is more in the corner, like kind of observing the day, and he uses stories really in a cool way. Like every wedding he goes to, he tells that story. He has a little bit of like, this is them getting ready, a little bit of the ceremony, a little bit of like the portrait time, a little bit of the reception time. And it's cool, because then for 24 hours, and he puts that couple's hashtag on all those stories, he gets a ton of business from that, right? Because like everyone who's at that wedding, and this is where it's like Snapchat, everyone who's at that wedding sees that story that he's been telling and realizes, well, I'm gonna get married and I want a videographer who can tell a good story. It makes a lot of sense. I think for some people it makes more sense than for others. Like if you don't have a business where you're telling that kind of a story, but it really should be a story and kind of that linear progression of the story evolving.
And again, the same with posts, you can delete stories, you know, if you're like I go back and delete stories all the time, like, man, that's really boring, that's of no value to my followers, and I just delete it, you know? Or, man, I look uglier than I thought I did, you know, so, anyway, and then nothing's permanent on Instagram, which is awesome.
And are you just talking about, are you just talking about Instagram stories or both Facebook and Instagram? Because there's story on Facebook now too, right?
Instagram stories. I'm talking about Instagram, but I've never used Facebook stories, have you?
Are they similar? I haven't used Facebook
People, I don't think people
They delete
really
it for
look at
24
Facebook
hours
stories.
too.
They're owned by the same, I think there's crossover, but like, and I think you can, there's crossover and I think you can choose to, I know when you post something personal on Facebook, you can choose to share it on your feed or share it on your story. I think there is some crossover, but my experience has been that Facebook stories are kind of just this sort of hanger-on from Instagram stories, right? Like Instagram's sort of a hanger-on to Snapchat, and Facebook stories, I don't really see.
Never even looked at anybody's Facebook stories, even though I see that there is one.
About the photography one, so if someone were to look at my feed, the photography is awful. Like, and I go into filters a lot, and I love that, thank you for the realness of saying it took you 40 shots. It takes me like 900, and then the one I end up with is so filtered out. So I guess I want, if I could hear from each of you, like, because you hear from all these bloggers and everyone of like, they have professional people. I know Joey, you're a photographer, but for the other three of you, like, are you using your phone? What's the percentage of these posts you're using with your phone? And are they all natural light, or do you have a loop light, or are you just literally just doing the, like, 70% of them are with your phone, you're just natural light, or you're filtering all of them? It's because that's the biggest challenge, I would say, for me, is making them look pretty for someone who doesn't have any skill for that.
The number one thing would be clean your lens, like take an alcohol wipe and clean your lens on the back of your phone, because we all touch our phones so much, and I swear a lot of phone photos I see, it was just taken with a dirty fingerprinted lens. So clean your lens. On my feed, it's either gonna be a professional photo that I got from a photographer, or I took it with my phone. And I think
Or Jack takes some.
or my 6-year-old takes some photos. And I did have a friend take one. I feel like that I crossed a weird line in Instagram world because I had a friend take photos in front of her garage. But I think I try to stay away from filters because it's real easy to go using way too many of them, and it doesn't make your feed look consistent. So what I will do is like make mine a little brighter, because you can, instead of clicking filter on the bottom, you can click edit and just up your brightness a little bit, but it's not gonna change the color values or anything. And just like practice, like if you're already taking 900, that's really good. What's making the good ones look better? I take most of mine, if it's a product shot, like of makeup that I wanna show, I have a big window in my living room, and I just put down a different tray or a different like towel or whatever, and I take it when the light is good in the morning and play with different angles and just see like why does that look good to me? And I, I'm not super organized, but I've just learned over the years of, all right, those seem to look better, and I think it comes down to lighting and practice.
What are you taking pictures of?
People, normally, because the brand is all about women. So it's normally pictures of people, and then when I take them, I use Planopoly, I wanna say it is, it's similar to later, and I buy all these filter packets, and then when they do them, they look so
do that.
crazy.
Oh, like the
And
presets?
then I heard that you keep the same filter on all of your whole feed, so my feed is all the same filter. But then it's so dark because the brand is, if you go to one of the events, they're very lively, so it doesn't match, like it's a dark feed, and yet
So I can just say about photographing people, and I know there are lots of photographers in this room, but I would, look at their faces and look at what the light is doing to their face before you take that picture. And don't be afraid to say, hey, can we just like turn 90 degrees, or can we, because if they're posing for your picture or whatever, like, they're gonna be happy to do that. I used to panic and be like, oh, we're in this dappled light and like there's light and shadow on a face. It's okay to say like, can we move to where the light's a little better, and find that diffuse light, or, you know, just think about even lighting on faces, because you can always, like Trisha was saying, up the brightness a little on a face. You can't, in a filter, deal with like harsh shadows and real strong bright spots. Like, just look at their faces and find ways to flatter them through the light that you're shooting in, if that makes sense.
I want to say, are we still talking about stories?
We can. I'll just beatbox.
I just want to mention one more thing that you can do in stories that's so awesome, that has been really good for me, is using the polls feature. You can get a lot of feedback from your audience by using the informal, like, do you want this or this? You know, red or blue, or, you know, what do you want to hear from me? You can take polls, you can ask open-ended questions. I just find that stories are awesome for that. And I've taken people on a journey of actually designing what glaze is going to be in my next collection, and so they're totally invested in the process of the next product. And when I release it, they're all like, I want one, you know, everybody wants to buy it because they have been emotionally invested in the process of actually creating it. So just involving people in the process of your business is really rewarding on both sides.
I have a cousin who's 15 years younger than me and way better at all of this than I am, because this is not my native language, but she runs an Instagram page. It's called Gillywick Goods, and she makes candles out of her house and sells them to bookophiles. Like, she makes candles, but she uses her stories a lot to, in the polls, you know, she'll say, okay, which of these two characters do you like better, and what should I make a candle based on? And so she'll put that poll out there, and then she'll make a scent for this candle based on that, you know, book character. And she also does this cool thing, unboxing, and where she'll ship a candle. I mean, they're like these little dinky candles. They're not, and she's printing labels off on her like home laser printer, but she's just using the platform in a really smart way to, you know, like you were saying, get that feedback from our audience and connect with people in that way. You know, if someone gives feedback, like, let's do this scent based on, you know, Jacob from Twilight. I'm gonna date myself so bad tonight. Is that so cool? But you know, then she'll make the Jacob candle, and she does contests like that sometimes too, where it's like, you know, name this candle or whatever, and then she ships it to the winner, and she, in exchange, just asks for an unboxing video. And then that unboxing video goes on to her story. So she gets this video of someone who's like squealing with excitement, opening her crappy candle with her laser print. You know, I look at her, I'm like, you're a genius, you know? And then she's been able to branch out from there because she's really building this audience of like people that really want to engage with her, because they can see, like, she'll make a candle if I give her this feedback, and then she'll do it and they get it, and it's this really cool circle.
So I do Instagram, I don't do it very often, but I'm just wondering, sometimes I have people say, want to be featured on our page, DM me, and it's just like,
Delete.
I haven't responded.
That's spam.
They want your money, or,
No,
it's just spammy.
Those are bad people.
Sometimes I'm like, oh wow, I'm so flattered.
Yeah.
Same with the like Marine guys that follow you, and I delete those guys too. Like, you know, people that follow you that are obviously not the kind of person that you want to attract.
Yeah.
If they have 15 followers and are following 7,000 girls,
Delete.
block.
You don't want to hear from them.
No, you don't want them watching what you do.
No. Yeah, like, okay, got it, all
I'm gonna be on a blocking spree.
I will say, like, we kind of touched on this before, how you engage with people really does matter. And if you do take the time to go and comment on the posts that, you know, resonate with you, I've been amazed at like photographers that I really admire and that I think are superstars. You know, that cult of personality is really built up easily on Instagram, right? And I follow these people and I sort of semi-worship them and I think they're so amazing. I'll comment on something, and then the next day they'll comment on one of my posts, and I'm like,
Screenshot.
They comment, I put it on my story. Like they know I'm a real human, you know. And it's I think just that engagement. Like they're just people, like we're people, and we're all looking for connection, and that's where social media is really amazing. And I mean, I'm not gonna like single out, but I'm looking at some of you in this room and I've met you through social media. You know, like I didn't know you until I first met you there. And I think there's power in that. And I think it's okay to have 50 followers if those 50 followers are really invested in you and what you believe in and what you do. You don't have to have 10,000 followers to be an Instagram success or to be it doesn't matter. You know, it's not going to really change how you do business. It shouldn't change how you do business.
I was gonna say something about, also just make sure you're putting a location in your profile. I am always shocked by how many times I find a new follower and I'm checking them out and I'm like, where is this photographer located? Or where is this, you know, person? And if you're a small business and people wanna support small business, they want to know where you are. So really filling that out, say something about yourself or your company or why you're doing what you're doing, and have some information there. You can list your website, you can, you know, go to your blog, you can have that, and you can update that all the time. So if you have a new blog post, you can say, go to my profile and see my new blog posts and stuff like that. So you can constantly, you know, work that to however things are changing within your company.
Only one at a time. I have a question. Sorry. So is it bad form to post up, like you said, don't reinvent the wheel? Let's say you post a post on Instagram. Can you post the same thing on Facebook? Is that
Yes, you should.
like word for word, like copy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just link it, it does it
You can
automatically.
share it. Yeah, you can do it automatically. That's what we do.
So can you do it automatically if you're in a group?
No, and I'm glad you brought up groups because I wanted us in this group to talk about groups because Instagram doesn't have groups unless it's like a thing I don't know about. But if it's a group, you can't. We share our Instagram posts directly to our Facebook business page, but that's just
The page.
set up through our settings.
Yeah.
But groups are an amazing tool if you're a Facebook person and you want to, you know, drive engagement through Facebook. I really mean no offense by this, but I think that Facebook is more for the older generation. And I think, like, I feel for myself that I came to Facebook a little bit later than some of my contemporaries, you know, other photography peers, and they have a lot more followers. You know, they might have, what do they even call it on Facebook? Is it fans or like friends or the likes? It's like your page likes. And
You can follow a page.
I remember it took me forever to get to 1,000 page likes, and that was it felt like a huge accomplishment to get there, and now we're, you know, a lot higher than that. I think it used to be a lot easier because people would see more stuff on Facebook than they're seeing now, and you know, I have 1,100 Facebook friends, but I see the same crap day after day from the same like 6 people, and I know they're like workarounds and they're things, but you know, like, if I really stop to think about it, I'm like, well, what are the other 999 people doing, right? Like, so Facebook is a whole different conversation. I don't know if we want to like go down that road.
No, we don't have to. I don't want to change the subject, but besides.
But groups are an amazing resource because they work around the algorithm, and people see that every time we have maybe, what would you say, 250 people in our Facebook group. You know, we have around that many, and I could post something about an upcoming sale or like mini session or something on our regular business page, which has like 3,500 people following it, and I could post it to that group of 250, and I would probably get more engagement from the group of 250, which tells you kind of about Facebook and how that is communicated.
Part of the reason why you get better engagement in that group though is because it's a really targeted group. So usually a Facebook group would be, it's not just people who are following you because they like your business or they're a friend and family member. But a group is very targeted to a specific audience who really wants to hone in on what you're
And
offering.
people get notifications for their groups. Like if you post in a group, and I'm sure you guys get that on your Facebook, you know, blah, 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 posted in this group, you'll get a notification, and that is not something you're doing through your business page.
So as far as you know, Facebook groups are the best way to engage with a group. There's no other like Instagram group or, you know.
Right.
And I would make it targeted, not just your business name.
Oh, no.
Like, you know, you really.
That's
are
all I
talking
do
to
is I run a
specific-
Facebook group, so.
So you get it.
Yeah, but that's not all.
But like Facebook groups are great for VIPs or for returning clients or for
It's
those
a support
people.
group, so
In some
people are
ways,
looking for it.
Yeah, like I do beginning photography class, and and actually, we were talking about doing a Facebook group based on this evening, you know, like a kind of a social media support group, which would be nice because there is so much to talk about and so much to share, and there's so many articles out there, and you know, just that sharing, I think, is the nature of the groups, right? That you're like in communication and you're being social with people through that.
Thanks.
I have a question that might kind of veer a little off of the social media end, but like this is purely out of experience. So from Julie and Jessica, you guys have amazing newsletters. How much are you writing your newsletter first? And then I do. I actually read books of your newsletter, and so it's like, is that content what you're building first, and then you're like peeling off of that to post into the social media, or how is that?
My newsletter is a standalone. I have not.
Yeah, so you're completely, like, it's never coming back on another.
Likely no.
Okay.
I'd probably be smarter about that, but.
I was just curious, like, if there was some kind of thought around that.
So mine, I actually have 5 different newsletters running.
Wow.
So that's like a whole another thing. But okay. So I have 5 separate kind of newsletters, and they're all scheduled on different days, and so you're probably on my organizing one because that's my biggest one. Yay! Thank you. So with those, what I really try and do is I compile a bunch of either like social media posts and kind of like do like a roundup, or I'll have blog posts with that like feature a certain topic, or that's kind of how I schedule it.
So it's not the newsletter that comes first. You're taking from the social media to build the newsletter.
Yes.
Okay, that's why I was kind of curious, like
around like one topic. So like next week is playrooms, like, and I have it all planned out because, well, I wouldn't be the organized mama if I didn't.
Right.
So I have them all planned out, and so next week is playrooms, and so I find blog posts and social media stuff that I've written about playrooms, or like videos, or my YouTube channel, or all of that, and then create like one long newsletter around that I know is targeted for my organizing readers. And then I have one for decor and one for, I do lives every Tuesday, and so I have a newsletter for that, and a bunch of other stuff.
Could you speak about, that just sounds like a lot, about like the amount of time, you talked a little bit about kind of, capturing that 10 minutes here, or kind of, giving you that signal so you don't get into the wasteland. But about how much time are we devoting to all of this in order to be productive? And I know you all have different kinds of, degrees into it, but just give some feedback on that, like daily, weekly. Do you do a batch, of some of it, and then daily? Okay.
So I schedule my Facebook for the month. I scheduled all of that out, so it'll be like my blog posts or affiliate links, or rooms I've done, like transformation Tuesdays or Thursdays, whatever. And so I schedule all that out for the month. That usually takes about an hour and a half for the month.
Because you've already got the content.
Because I already have the content.
So
and
you've
I've
built that
devoted
before.
and I've scheduled specific days for specific things.
Right.
So Mondays are always like my blog post. Tuesdays are always about whatever my live is going to be. Wednesdays is affiliate links. Thursdays is Transformation Thursday. And so that's project, I've done before and afters. And then Friday is just like motivational quotes that I found that I like, and I always like tag whoever it is. And so because I have like that structure, then it makes filling in the days just that much easier. And then with Instagram, I plan out a week at a time, and for me, that's the easiest way for me to be authentic. So I'm like in the moment. Facebook, I kind of feel like I like sharing that information, but I don't think you always need to be like right on topic. But Instagram, it's probably between like making the graphics and writing the content and stuff, probably like half an hour, 45 minutes to actually planning. And then I'm on it at least a half an hour, if not more, a day, communicating with people. I'm not just scrolling. And if I start scrolling over people, then I just start unfollowing them. And I know it sounds vicious, but you kind of need to, if you're not engaging with those people that are in your feed, then why are they there? Like, the people in my feed I want to like, I want to comment, I want to talk to you. I don't want somebody there that just, I'm gonna scroll past. So yeah, and then Pinterest is a whole nother beast.
I spend a lot of time on Instagram because I really enjoy it, so it doesn't feel like a job for me. I like to write, I like to take pictures, I like to share, I like to talk to people, so I probably spend more time on it than, I don't know. But it doesn't feel like a job to me. It's something that I enjoy doing.
You don't admit exactly how much time.
Well, I don't know, because I'm such a fluid person. Like, this is like giving me a stress that
You don't plan it out like, oh my gosh,
yeah, so
personality.
yeah, just personality. So if I get a direct message and I have time, I respond and I have a conversation, and I sometimes end the day by watching stories and I'm responding to people that have commented on my post. But there's just lots of I'm a very fluid person. I don't have lots of categories in my life, so so I enjoy it, and it doesn't feel like a job.
You have one category, it's vintage.
No, I have a job too.
I am very organic in my time too. I am very in the moment. If I have a mess on the floor that I think is beautiful, I might share that, that kind of thing. So, and people like to see the mess. Comments, and if I happen to be on it and I respond to comments, and I'm not intentional about my time at all.
I think it averages out to like an hour to 90 minutes a day on Instagram, and if the light is good one day and my kid is doing something else, I'll take a bunch of pictures and then save them up. But it's not like I can go, on Thursday I'm gonna try and take a lot of photos because it might be raining. So I kind of am a seize the opportunity person. I aim to do a post in the morning when he's having breakfast, and then I will engage with people in the afternoon if I have time, and then I do another post at night when I know a lot of people are on. And I might, over spring break, I did a lot of lives, and I used the poll feature in stories to find out what makeup look do you want me to do tomorrow, because I'm always surprised how many people want to see a smoky eye day after day, or a bronzy look. But if that's what people want to see, then I'll do it. And then there's on a Sunday I might not post at all because my husband's home, and then that's fine. I want to run it, not have it run me. But I bet if it averaged out, it would probably be 90 minutes a day over the course of a week.
That's my story.
I know that this started to drive me crazy, and I loved hearing you don't want this to become a job or kind of run you. But I would set alarms on my phone. I had a daily 4:07 p.m. Instagram alarm, and most days, I realized I was probably posting too much, for how we were actually reaching people. It felt like we reached more if we waited a couple of days, if we kind of let people it felt like we were losing as many followers as we were gaining because it was probably just too much. So you kind of, I think, pop back into that. And so for me, setting an alarm as a reminder, this is, and I think that you kind of talked about this, this is the sweet time to post, and if I miss that sweet time, I'll just wait and do it the next day because it's not dire. Right.
And I don't care about time.
I don't either.
I post when I want to post, when I feel like it.
Because I would say that too. I would say you try to outsmart the system, and the system is going to immediately outsmart you. There's really no, when you try to master it, you're just going to be flummoxed by it the next day because the algorithms are completely changing. So for me, it's really focus on your content, make really great content, focus on really connecting with people, and you know, the rest will come. But when you try to make it the game is exhausting, and it takes the fun out of it, and it detracts from really, I think, the greatness of your post.
And I think that's an awesome point. I would say on Facebook, like, don't post in the middle of the day. Like, that, if you're trying to reach moms, like, you'll reach them at breakfast time or before their kids get up, and you'll probably reach them after they put their kids to bed. So I would, like, avoid, and Fridays seem like kind of a dead time, and Sundays to me have always seemed really dead. So you don't have to worry about time, but you should have, like, maybe at least some awareness of, this is kind of a dead time. This is sort of the desert wasteland of, like, social media, as it should be. If it's really beautiful out, like, go outside and be with your kids. Don't be like, well, I can't go because I have to do this, you know, Instagram post at 10:04 p.m. Whatever, like, go live your life. But I do think, like, be aware of, if it is a beautiful day out and for whatever reason you're inside, your followers or your audience, they're not going to probably engage with that because they shouldn't be.
One comment with the Facebook groups at least is I know you can see when your people are on. So that's a tool that I've used to try to help like schedule my timing, like you were saying, because a lot of them I've seen like people are on around lunchtime. Like if they'll scroll like, you know, when they wake up to breakfast time, lunchtime, and then like post kids in bedtime is kind of what I've seen, like just as, you know, something helpful that you can use to plan around.
I was gonna say, I don't know if everyone even knows it, but you can have 2 accounts too. So if you want a personal one and you want, you know, your friends and family to follow you, you can totally have that, and you can have a company account. I run the Something Blue family one, and I just switch back and forth, and I have my personal, and so it's very easy. So if anybody is like, oh, what should I do? You know, you can separate them, and I don't know if everybody always knows that. So.
Well, because like back in the day, like it was really hard to switch between the two.
Right.
And they made it so easy now,
Yeah.
which is so nice.
Yeah.
To go back, just I was looking at your Instagram, I should have been following. I mean, you have, so I watch sometimes when I follow people's pages, you have 20 grand and you only follow 200. That's crazy. Like, so obviously you're slaying it.
Thank you.
Like, so you're organized and matches your brand, because that's, those numbers, like sometimes I see people and they're doing, they have 1,000 followers, but they're following 500 or 600. So if I'm gonna go home and try this recipe, and I'll give it a swirl, I'm a good student.
Right.
But how many people that I'm gonna be commenting on, what is your percent you would say, I mean, I know it's all organic, but to encourage me to do this, is what's the percent of them actually going back and following you? Because that recipe, I mean, that's amazing. That's 200 you're only following.
So those 200 that I follow, the majority of them I like and comment on pretty much every picture, not because I'm like in a group, because that's a thing. It's because I actually like them. I know a lot of them. They're my friends. It goes back to what everything you guys were saying was I've found people that I like, and when I comment on my friends, those, you know, the people that I follow, when I comment on theirs, and I continuously comment, well, their followers are gonna see that I'm continuously commenting, and my handle is going to show up in their those comments. They're gonna continue to see that. They can click on me, and then they can see, oh, this is what she does. And if they are interested in that, then they can follow me. And so it's, honestly, to me, like, that's the biggest thing is I follow people that I genuinely like, and I will comment and like on their posts. And so because of that, I've grown. Handle is your name.
Your Instagram name.
Are you following your clients?
Not all of them,
Okay.
and not all of them want to be shared.
Yeah.
So I can't post all of my posts that I do. So sometimes I'm in the car, like, hey. And I do wanna say, because I did tell Julie, my all-time favorite filter is Kylie Lips. And you click on the lips, and then you click no lips. This is in stories. And then you click no lips, and then you look like you have makeup on, even if you don't. It is my favorite. Because when I'm in the car, and sometimes like going to a client, I won't get in front of the camera because I'm like, I don't look great, but that is my easy tip to be like, I can still be in front of the camera. They have like funky filters, who cares? And I'll put the funky filter on and then I'm there. And so my people see me. And that's another thing, like my people see me a lot.
No, that, I mean, I follow a fashion blogger who, if she doesn't have makeup on, she always does the bunny ears filter and it works for her. For me, I feel like I can't do that because I want them to see the difference of this is a makeup face, this is a non-makeup face, so it's okay. I won't judge.
My business is local and I'm really trying to get local followers, and on my Instagram, all my followers are like all over the country. What are the tricks to get, and Facebook of course is more local, I get more of my followers on Facebook local, because they're students of mine, you know, that come and their parents that follow me, but with Instagram, is there a way to get local followers? I mean, I'm hashtagging like 365 Arlington Heights, and I get a little bit that way, but the majority is.
Do you location tag when you do a post?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll let you speak
How
to it.
specific a location are you thinking?
Like, when you tag your location,
Are you doing it like hashtag Arlington Heights?
Right. I do that too though. Right.
What's your business?
I'm the art room in Arlington Heights, so I'm an art studio in Arlington Heights, so I do, you know, both children and adult art programs. Yeah. And so again, but I get a lot of artists and art teachers from around the country that love to follow me because they like what I'm posting, but
Maybe look and see what the Park District is using as hashtags and like the village and the Park District and other local, the library, see what they're using for hashtags.
Check my competitors, check what hashtags.
Yeah.
And do those stories with the location tag.
With the location tag, more stories.
And in your,
So, my students, see, I'm worried with my students in the studio, even though parents sign a like digital contract with me, that I'm gonna have their artwork online, on my Facebook, on my website, on my Art Sonia gallery, you know, they sign something at the release, I mean, but I'm still, just the teacher in me has a hard time posting pictures.
Do their
of my
hands,
students.
back of their heads.
Right, I do that, I crop out their faces.
Yeah,
and
like a
things
boomerang
that.
of their hand drawing would get a huge, you know,
On stories.
and tag it, you know, either with your location tag with your studio or just with the town, or, and I think you'd see more local followers.
Popping up.
and in the bio on the top, you can.
Yeah, I already have
You
like
have
my
your
town
location.
there.
Another thing with looking up for hashtags, I just learned this and it has helped immensely, again, like grow my following. You actually have to do hashtag research. And so I know this is a whole thing. So don't get like overwhelmed, like get in the habit of posting, like what you guys were saying, and then like start with the hashtags. But start looking on Instagram for hashtags, like locations, and see how many posts there actually are. Because if there's not a lot, that means not a lot of people are searching for it.
But there are millions, you don't want that either.
Right, like
But
over 3 million is not worth it.
I think over a million.
I think over 100,000.
So it's not like, yes,
Single we are.
but, then you can also see it'll list like possible, you know, other posts or other hashtags that are similar to this, and you can see where people are going. And you can also look, like what you guys were saying, the, like Park District or even other, art studios in other parts of the country, and then seeing what hashtags they're using to kind of look to see if we have something similar here.
But isn't it good too to have a hashtag that's so unique that you can draw people to,
It's
or?
called, yeah, it's called it's this term called the short tail versus the long tail. And you kind of want a blend of each, the long tail, less competition, short tail, lots of competition for those hashtags. Actually, did I get that wrong? Yeah, no, that's right. Anyway, the point is that you want to be in a space where there aren't so many that you get lost when they search for you, and not so few that nobody's going to think to, you know, look for you. But if you sponsor one, like nobody else had TQITB, I mean, it's just so random, but it has, because it's so weird, people, you know, catch on to it and they're posting it for a very specific reason, so it gains momentum. And then once they use it once, then they use it twice, da-da-da-da-da. You have to be intentional, but nobody's gonna go TQITB, you know, and find something. something. That's just not how it works. Any other questions?
You guys at capacity?
I know, I wanna respect everyone's time and desire to either go to the bathroom or get more wine, or Lindsay made brownies and lemon bars and stuff,
Yeah,
so.
I don't wanna take them home, so please.
If,
She's a good taker.
if we're good, we can also just call it and hang out, and you're welcome to stay and hang out as long as you'd like, and.
Did we get through all the questions that were submitted?
We got all of my questions. Does anyone else have any questions for the group before we're done? All right, you are all amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
Can you go share your handles?
Yes. So mine's Julie Kittredge. Mine is McGillicuddy.
Yes, wait, who would be like that?
Just Trisha Clark. Sure. Yeah. Yes, Julia.
Okay. Could you look at
It must have been like, I used to use
I like their.
She tried the kind of.
Sorry, story.
That's why I love that. Right.
I like, I'm a speech therapist.